And we are live.
All
Ready to
right.
go.
Welcome, everybody. I am Sass, and that is Smoke over there, Student Man 94. This is his channel you're on.
Sorry, I'm getting some laggy audio here. You said what?
I can tell. I said, I am Sass, and then I said, that over there is Smoke, known as Student Man 94. This is his channel.
I thought you asked me a question. Okay. Like I said, it's laggy over here.
Nah,
Anyway,
laggy. Sure, we're going to blame it on the
it
lagginess, huh?
really is laggy. I'm gonna have to switch the fucking chat over to my phone here.
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right. Seriously, I think that's better. Maybe say something.
Hello. Hello.
All
Hola.
right. That. Wow. Okay, that was loud. All right, we definitely
Sorry.
definitely got a lot more clarity there. All right, you got the. I'm gonna get the live chat up here. Anyway, hey everybody, how you doing tonight? Wonderful Friday, beautiful weather. About to fire up the grill tomorrow. Cannot wait. Will you? Okay. So yeah, hope everybody is ready for a kick-ass weekend. I can feel it. It's gonna be an awesome one. Don't know why. I can just tell. Finally getting into that weather. What is going on? Stop.
You can feel it in your bones, huh?
Heck yeah.
Is Restream acting up again?
Hold on. I might lose you here. If you lose me, just carry on. Let's see if I can.
Okay.
All right. I think we might be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully we didn't lose
All
audio
right.
on the folks here, but all right, we're gonna start over. I think
Okay.
now we're ready to roll. So yeah, hope everybody's having a badass Friday. Today's episode, sin and virtue. Um, so of course you know you got the seven deadly sins and the seven cardinal virtues. Death Kitty, I know you said you actually had not heard of the seven virtues. Is that right?
I have not. That is correct. And that's so weird because I grew up in church and everything else, but I grew up in like the First Baptist Southern churches. You know what I mean? And maybe they do go into that, and maybe I just never paid attention. But on the research that I did do about the seven virtues, that was more of a Catholic thing. And
Yeah.
anybody in the chat, if I'm wrong about that, if you're not Catholic and it was preached at your Baptist church, put in the comments. I'd love to know.
Heck yeah. And also, I wanted to ask, so, Kitty, what do you know about the seven deadly sins then?
Basically, I know what they are. They are the ones that pretty much is mankind's destruction. Each person their destruction.
Correct, correct. So, trying to get Wikipedia up here. Alright, so we're going to start with, of course, the common one, the sins. And isn't that kind
So,
of poetic that that's the most commonly known of the sins?
right, quick question for you. Of all of the seven, babe, which one do you think is the number one? Or anybody in the
That's
comments?
that is a tough one. And apparently there's a few different lists here, a few different versions of it anyway. Um I don't know, I mean it probably sound cliche, but I guess I'd have to go with greed.
It's actually pride. Pride is the number one because pride can lead to any of the rest of those sins. It's kind of like a gateway, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, because say sloth, you wouldn't necessarily like get greed or vanity or something like that from strictly sloth. So that
Right.
makes sense. So according to this, let's break this down a little bit. So I'm guessing these are the two that are the most common, but we're going to kind of start from the top here, this whole section here. So, history of the seven deadly sins. So, these evil thoughts can be categorized as follows: physical, meaning thoughts produced by the nutritive, sexual, and acquisitive appetites; emotional, being thoughts produced by depressive, irascible, or dismissive moods; and mental, being thoughts produced by jealous and envious, boastful, or hubristic states of mind. So, 4th century monk Evagrius Ponticus reduced the 9 logismoi to 8 as follows: gluttony, prostitution or fornication, greed, sadness, wrath, I believe it's Acadia, which is apathy, neglect, and indifference, rendered in the Philokalia as dejection; boasting and pride, sometimes rendered as self-overestimation, arrogance, or grandiosity. Grandiosity. So, Evagrius's list was translated into the Latin of Western Christianity in many writings of John Cassian, thus becoming part of the Western tradition spiritual. Guessing that's pietas. Pietas, is that right, Kitty?
How is it spelled? I can't spit.
Pietas. Pietas.
I think so.
Or
Yeah.
Catholic
Hiatus.
devotions as follows: being gluttony, lust or fornication, greed, sorrow or despair or despondency, wrath, sloth, vanity or vainglory, and pride. So, it looks like these two lists, of course being the original and then the one translated into Latin, there are 8. There are 8. Do you see the difference of which one's missing here?
Can you just list them off real quick? Which ones you've got there?
So we've got gluttony,
Mm-hmm.
lust, greed,
Mm-hmm.
sorrow, wrath, sloth, vanity, and pride.
So the one we're missing off of the 7 is sorrow.
Yep. So, and this just despair, like sorrow or despair or despondency. Like, I don't really see how that could be a sin, though.
So what's interesting about all of these things is you always, like I tell my kids, you always have to go back and you have to look at the times. You have to look at the history. You have to look at what was going on. You almost have to kind of walk in their shoes to try to figure out what they were trying to talk about. So at this time, what year was that whenever they did that?
Um,
The 8?
doesn't say here. Let's see down here. So they revised the list in 590.
Okay. So,
So it was surely. I'm not sure. Let me see if I can find. Okay, let me find out when this monk was alive from. That would tell us.
okay.
So
So,
the monk that wrote it was alive from 345 to 399 AD.
okay. And whenever he wrote this, where was he located at? What area of the
Um,
world?
when he wrote that,
Mm-hmm.
let's see if I can find it. here's something about it. The Logismoi. Here we go. So it was written in 375 AD.
Okay.
It's also a comprehensive list of the 8 evil thoughts or 8 terrible temptations.
Okay.
I'm not
And was
seeing where he was at.
okay. So, an interesting thing. If he was in Rome at this time, it was, you said 375 or 575?
375.
Okay, whenever it was written, the 8. Rome did not become, like, it wasn't a tolerated religion of Christianity until at least 380. Okay, so this is before this was accepted to most people in that area of the world. And if you look at that sin, it's like you've given up all hope, you've given up courage, you just like, you're like, just whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So if you think about those things, that kind of matches with that time.
But it's just not making sense to me about sorrow being a sin, though. Like,
Well, they said
it just.
sorrow or despair or
Oh, so you're saying it
despondency.
from, like, the whole loss, like, lack of hope. I see what you're
Right.
saying.
Right. Like, even now, even new age people will tell you it's okay to be sad, but don't stay there. Just move on
Yeah.
from it. And there's a reason for that.
So, Evagrius, he was from Pontus on the southern coast of the Black Sea in what is modern-day Turkey.
And I believe that area at the time wasn't that Rome as well? It was, right, babe?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person on geography, man. I
Hold
did
on.
not pay enough attention to that.
Yes, it was. It was. Did you hear me, babe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Hmm.
So I guess that does kind of go into how it was, predominant in Catholicism. So here's a kind of interesting side note too, and I'll blow this up so it's a little easier to see here. Taking a look. Woo! Blew that up a little too much there. This picture. Wow, I'm scrolling way too fast. Let me back up a little bit. There we go. So this picture here. Do you see that, Kitty? Kitty, do you copy me?
Let me see it. I didn't see the picture. Oh, I see the screenshot right here, baby.
Right here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that image. And what this is an allegorical image depicting the human heart subject to the 7 deadly sins, each represented by an animal, clockwise, a toad being avarice, a snake being envy, lion being wrath, snail being sloth, pig being gluttony, goat being lust, and peacock being pride.
I think that's a good association right there.
Yep. So, really kind of makes you think about the whole, like the imagery of the goat and like Satanism and shit like that.
Like Baphomet.
Uh,
Yeah.
like that really kind of makes you think about the age of lust that we're in. Like lust
Mm-hmm.
everywhere and like how that really ties into like I don't really want to say like the primary focus, but like for we the people, like the population, like that's kind of the biggest one right now. I feel like is lust.
Mm. By the
That's
way,
the
hello,
devil's
Razor
focus.
Ricky in the chat.
What's up, Ricky? Yes, sir. Happy Friday.
I agree.
So,
I agree, and I think that is a big issue, is lust. But I still believe the bottom line is always goes down to
oh
pride.
yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm just saying, like right now, I feel like that's the devil's focus is that lust, man. Like between OnlyFans and Hollywood and the TV screen and you know your fucking um, Ulta and
Yeah,
Sephora
like
fucking
on
stores and shit. Like,
yeah, like on X earlier, just like probably an hour before you came home. I was watching a clip from a video that this influencer had on there. It wasn't a OnlyFans influencer. It was just somebody that was on X, and it was a basically a screen recording of this. Um, what do you call them? I just said it. The website where you go for all that.
oh,
OnlyFans.
you doing OnlyFans? Yeah.
OnlyFans. OnlyFans lady was letting like 50 men into this event. Like,
Oh, dude, no, there was one that did like I think that was like 200, 250 or some shit.
you never post that
That's
video, did you?
no, I forgot all about that. God damn it. Yeah. All right, we're not gonna spoil that. But yeah, no, like 250, man. Like okay, you gotta think. I don't know for a fact, but you gotta imagine that they're monetizing off of this. I mean, of course,
Mm,
OnlyFans, that's definitely monetized, but like even off of TikTok and Instagram and all of that, like of course they can't post that, but they can advertise it, and there are all these memes going around about it, attracting attention to they're monetizing off of this. They're
mhm,
monetizing off of that,
mhm,
which I mean, yeah, it's bad that they're monetizing off that, but how many people are buying into that?
mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's the world they're trying to create right there, man.
Yeah,
That
agreed.
dude, I don't give a fuck what kind of regulations they try to put on social media.
Mhm.
They want younger people on there. They want them exposed to this shit. This whole, oh, we're trying to protect the children by setting all of these strict requirements. That's not helping a fucking thing. They're gonna, dude. You know how smart like they every generation gets dumber and dumber, but they with this technology shit. I mean, some of these kids have a fucking one of those little super padded tablets in front of them as a toddler, man.
Mhm.
So they're growing up with this shit. They know technology, and they will find their way into shit because that's what you do when you're young. You get into shit. So, I mean, dude, like they're not actually trying to protect these kids. They want them to be exposed to this. And that's the fucked up thing. It's not just
Right.
about the adult women, it's what they are influencing, who they are influencing.
Right.
So anyway, back to this here. So in 590 AD, Pope Gregory I revised the list to form a more common list. Gregory combined Tristitia with Acadia and Vanagloria with Superbia, adding envy, which is invidia in Latin. It is interesting to note that Pope Gregory's list corresponds exactly to the traits described in Perque Ava as removing one from the world. So that's kind of interesting. So basically saying that committing these sins or living by these sins removes you from the world.
That is
So,
interesting. And I'm curious, anybody who's Catholic out there, do y'all know anything about excommunication? It's almost like a ritual that they do. Like they
dude,
literally like so does
dude,
that have anything to do with that? Like not saying that the priests are doing that or anything. I mean, that's a whole different topic. But I mean saying I don't know. Do you see the correlation?
dude, I'm really glad you brought that up because, yeah, dude, I hadn't thought about that before. Can you hear me?
I'm just yeah, I'm
Oh, you're
curious.
reading. I got you. Yeah. But see, that makes me think, I always talk about my belief of, we're all, they say God is in us all because we are all part of God. God is everything all around us all the time. So if the sins were to be removed from righteousness, would take you farther from God, you're removing yourself from the world, you're removing yourself from God, which is the world. It's both at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yes and no, because in the Bible it talks about the world and God being separate.
But see, that's one of the things I don't agree with the Bible. And I always say, dude, the Bible's been translated and touched and
Well,
modified and shit removed. You can't you can't believe everything in it. I
right, and I'm
Because
taking
a
it.
lot of it has been tampered with. So I don't agree with that. I think God is the world itself.
I'm taking
He's
it.
in it all.
I'm taking it out of context. So what I'm trying to say with that is there's the ways of the world and the ways of being righteous. You
Oh, I see what
know,
you're saying.
see,
Yeah.
you see what I'm saying? So I kind of took that out of context, but
Gotcha, gotcha. So, um, basically, the list comes down to lust, which includes fornication, anything along the, unforgivable list, of course. Um, Gluttony, of course. So we talked about lust. I will kind of break all these down individually. We've talked about lust, and dude, that's a problem, man. And it is. I mean, it's when you're young, you're influenceable, man, and I consider lust higher up on the list because some of those things, man, are can't be reversed. Gluttony, let's say gluttony. I used to be fucking chubby as shit, man. I'm open about the fact I love to eat. I love food. But dude, I used to love food all my life, and I was chubby, man. And I finally, lost my weight and everything. I did get really hooked on ephedra pills. Back when like the mini thins and stackers and all the fucking bullshit was out, man. And I used to drink a shit ton of energy drinks. I worked restaurant industry, fucking convenience stores in bad parts of towns, late night shifts, overnight shifts, doubles, all kinds of shit, man. So I was, of course, all the fucking over the counter gas station, fucking whatever country they're fucking porting that shit out of, all that just to fucking keep going and shit, man. A lot of health problems and shit that I got from it, you know, but then I finally one day got to what I consider now to be a healthy weight. I'm not toned, I'm not, ripped, but I do, I have muscle, I have a little bit excess of fat. I don't give a fuck, you know, but I still love to eat. But here's the thing is I believe in moderation. Like there's nothing wrong with anything in this world except of course the unforgivables in moderation. Like music or TV or video games, like dude, there's nothing wrong with playing video games, but don't sit there and do it all day every day. Go outside, have a life, do something. But there's nothing wrong like oh, you hear people, oh, fucking gamers, or blah, blah, blah. I want somebody who does something with it. Dude, there's nothing wrong playing some video games, man. Having fun. Dude, I don't play nearly as much as I used to, man. I barely ever game, man. I still love it. Still got my own classics and shit I like to play. Moderation, but I just don't feel like anybody understands moderation. I talk about black and white, positive, negative. There's the gray. There's the balance of the positive and negative, the balance that they create, the harmony that they live in, the the almost necessity to balance. I believe everything in this world is a balance and a struggle to maintain balance. If you look at that from a chemistry aspect, more or less that's kind of what it is. I mean, even physics. I mean, every force has or every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So they don't call it a law, being one of Newton's three laws. They call it a law because it is scientific fact. Now, I do believe that there are some laws of physics that we will at some point discover false. Physics books will very well be rewritten someday. But I do believe Newton was correct. You know, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. There's balance in the world and there's moderation, man. Water water will poison you if you drink too much of it. Everyone says drink more water, drink more water. Drink too much, it's not good for you. You need moderation. Water's great. You need water. You need plenty of water, but not in excess. So, gluttony can be defined even as eating too expensively, eating too daintily, eating too much, eating too soon, eating too eagerly. So, it's not just the quantity, it is more or less to that you have towards it. So, with that being the case, it's like I said with balance, man. Like don't sit there and fucking what's his name from Christmas Story was that Randy, where he's like shoving his face, eating like a fucking pig, But like, don't. I'm not sure how to define it or take the eat too daintily. Kitty, how would you kind of depict that, like, in this meaning?
Um, I mean, I've always thought of gluttony, it could be more than just food. Um, so it can be anything that you're out of balance with. You're doing something way too much, everything else, basically. So that's kind of what I got from that. It's any kind of, like it says, any kind of overindulgence of anything. Um, Now, in this aspect, they are definitely talking about food. And, what's so funny about this is most of these, I mean, I'm not saying the person who wrote, came up with this or anything like that was doing this, but a lot of these people that were head of the church were doing this. A lot of kings and queens were, just gluttonous and their people were starving.
Yeah. And right there it says, where was that part? The word derives from the Latin glutiere, meaning to gulp down or swallow. One reason for its condemnation was that is that the gorging of the prosperous may leave the needy hungry. So right there. But also, so it says medieval church leaders such as Thomas Aquinas took a more expansive view of gluttony, arguing that it could also include an obsessive anticipation of meals
I
and
just
overindulgence.
quoted him earlier today.
Did you?
Yes.
Heck yeah. So he actually broke down gluttony into those five forms. Oh, what was the quote?
Keep talking and I will pull it up for you.
Okay.
Actually, I it was from something that Takeout had. He's doing these interesting questions, and
Huh.
yeah. So let me let me get with you real quick. So
Okay.
in his quote by Takeout, if the bag is secure but your soul ain't, did you really win? This is my response. Quote: The soul is known by its acts. End quote. And that was Thomas Aquinas. We are vessels, and this is what I told him. We are vessels of the soul. We choose our actions, then act upon them. We can also justify ourselves in any wrongdoings. If we choose wrong, even when we know it's wrong, it darkens our souls. And that spot of darkness can become larger if we go down the same road. We then we have then not secured our soul, but hijacked it to our thinking. We are vessels to our souls, but our souls are meant to guide us. But a man or a woman who is not secure with their soul, in parentheses I put letting it lead, is lost. Now I'm going to read you Takeout's response, which is absolutely beautiful. Okay. Uh, he quote by Takeout, quote, "We are vessels only on paper and sledges," which he's mentioned that before. While a vessel is at birth, the captain, parenthesis mind and soul, lets the vessel know it's secure to travel across sea with its cargo. Vessels cruise wherever the mind and soul guides it while in the sea. What happens if the mind and soul lie to the vessel? It will either be lost and stuck on sea, floating or sink. Same goes with flesh and blood person. The bag would only be secured if the soul is clean.
Wow. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Mm-hmm.
Man, shout out to Takeout, guys. That
Mm-hmm.
dude, man, like, so intelligent and definitely sees the world in a different viewpoint, man. He's got a different perspective for real, man.
He does. He does. Shout
Um,
out to all independent artists. If you listen to mainstream and you're watching us, just try to go through some independent artists, see if there's a song you like.
yeah, and not saying that there's. I mean, there are some visionaries out there in mainstream, a lot less than there used to be, but yeah, I really feel like independent music is the people, man. People who really see shit for what it is, and it's not a an agenda. It's not a storyboard playing out what they want you to think and hear and all that.
Absolutely.
So switching back to gluttony here. So this is Still Life. It was by Al Inker in 1896. I remember seeing this.
Mm,
But what
mm-hmm.
do you see when you see that? Like, what do you think is the like just the whatever story that's telling, whatever image that's capturing? What do you see?
So I see the abundance of food. You have a whole huge half loaf of bread and like an entire leg of an animal, right? Like a huge leg, not just like a small little chicken leg. I'm talking about like a beast. And there's only one plate. There is only one plate. Yeah,
Yeah,
there are two glasses, but one's wine and one's probably water because that's probably what their water looked like right then, you know? But look at that.
yeah.
They've got their cigar there. It's a setting for one person. One person eating all of that, there is no reason for that.
But see, when I look at that, I don't see excess. I see a simple meal. I see you
Hmm.
have your meat and you have your bread. I mean, wine. I mean that was it wasn't like a luxurious thing necessarily. Just depending on where you're from, the time, and all that. Wine was pretty abundant. Like people used to drink coffee with every meal. People used to drink wine with every meal. What's up, Nana? Thank you for joining. Nana said excess. She sees excess there
Hey,
too.
Nada.
Maybe I'm just a fat kid. I don't know. But I just see a simple meal. I see your meat and your bread. You
You're a farm
know,
boy, baby.
yeah. Well, not a farm boy, just country. I was fed like a farm boy. But that's just me. I just see like a simple meal, man. I don't see a big setting, you know.
Would you be able
But
to eat
that's
all
just
of
me.
that? Would you be able to eat all
No.
of that?
Oh no. I
That's
mean, I
that that
could, but
that's
I mean, to set it aside and have a little bit for your next meal. But now, just think about art.
Mhm.
Is everybody sees something different in it, you know. That's the beauty of it.
Absolutely.
So, next we have greed. I mean, we can touch on that one all night, but we all know greed is definitely running the world right now. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Um, I mean, I've had talks with people at work and stuff about this recently, and um, Nala said she saw a clean plate. Heck
Totally.
yeah. But you know, like, what's the point of the money if I mean, you're not gonna live forever. What's the point of the money? My theories are, like I said, the fountain of youth, chasing that fountain of youth, maybe trying to live forever so that they have that money, which is, for now, at this point, power to them. Um,
Or,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, I didn't mean to talk over you. What I was saying, or basically, it can be for future generations to make sure they're set.
That was what I was going to say next. Yeah. But, I mean, dude, there's nothing wrong with making your family sad, man, but, like, they don't need, they don't need like, that much money. They don't need billions of dollars. Like, you know, that's just too much, man. Balance, moderation. We need money to survive. It's good to leave something for your kids and your grandkids, but, at what point is enough enough? Where you draw that line? Nana said, sorry, cooking at the moment. No worries, Nana. Do what you gotta do.
This is an excellent podcast. Just kind of let it play in the background. And, you
Heck
know,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna be going off on our tangents, so. Ricky said, one big ass experiment about who can become rich physically and who can become rich at heart. Dude, Ricky, man, that's fucking
oh,
deep,
that's
dude.
deep. You need to put that in one of your tracks, brother.
Yeah, man, for real. Like, dude, I mean, everyone talks about, like, okay, what if this is just some big, like, ant farm, and you got the two pieces of glass and you watch the ants dig their tunnels and live and shit. Like, what if that's what it is? Like, and that's the game. That's the end goal. That's how you win. Whoever achieves it, their goal first, kind of deal. That's deep, dude, for real.
Absolutely.
So next we've got sloth. So this one will break down a bit. Sloth refers to many related ideas dating from antiquity, including mental, spiritual, pathological, and physical states. It may be defined as absence of interest or habitual disinclination to exertion. So it's not just laying on the couch all day, which of course that's bad for you, but it's a lack of motivation, lack of wanting to achieve something greater. Right here, Saint Thomas Aquinas defines sloth as sorrow about spiritual good.
Again, Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah. So, like, that makes me think of, that saying, was it evil prevails when good men fail to act? So, if you have sloth in the mentality of doing something about it, whatever it may be, doing something about it, that is sloth as well. So, I do feel like that is definitely, what's the new Generation Z or some shit?
I
I
think
don't know.
so.
Generation Z, I definitely think that's theirs, man. Like, going into even apathy.
Hmm.
Like, I think that can definitely tie into that. There's a lot of apathy. Like, nobody gives a fuck. Like, people will see a problem and just not even care anymore. It's like these people watching, like, somebody just get the shit kicked out of them by, like, 20 people, and they're, like, pulling out their phone.
Right.
Dude, what
Yeah.
the fuck, man? What happened when somebody would, like, jump in there and fucking, like, pull the motherfucker out and start swinging, like, hey man, this isn't a fair fucking fight, dude. Like, is there a
Right.
reason we're stomping the shit out of this guy? Did he like fuck with somebody or something? Like do something really bad, or are we just being assholes right now? Or somebody injured, bleeding out, or whatever, bad car wreck, somebody phone, dude, do something. Call somebody, or maybe go over there and see if there's anything you can do. See if they're okay. See, get a status check, man. I mean, if there's like a severe accident, somebody's hurt, somebody should be calling 911, yes, but also giving updates. Hey, this is what's going on. The dispatchers, they'll be sitting there asking you questions, like, hey, do you see any lacerations? Or, do they appear to be breathing? I'm not sure the entire list of questions, but they do ask you questions like that. Their job is to get as much information as they can, dis, of course, dispatch, and also to keep the caller calm, whether it's, somebody calling the police for something and they're in a panic, or a loved one's hurt or fell or something and they're in a panic. Panic doesn't lead anywhere good, so they need to keep you calm. That's part of their job. But get on the phone and give those updates. Help the first responders, help the people. Now, I said, at what cost, though? If you spend all your time working for cash, you deny time for your family. Gotta have balance, find happiness where you are. That is absolutely true, Nada, and I say it all the time, man. They are trying to take parents out of the home by making and forcing a two-income household so that the parents are not at home with their kids, and somebody else is influencing those kids, teaching them, guiding them, being influences to them. And that is ultimately the fucking government. So, yes, I believe in hard work. I believe in using your fucking hands. But at a certain
Mhm.
point, you need time at home, and you need both parents present, at least one, but preferably two, man. Like, and
Mhm.
so many children are growing up without parents. They have them, they're alive, but they're just they're gone all the time working. They never see their parents. They're being raised by the system. Nala said, that is my son's preferred nickname, Sloth.
That's funny.
Heck yeah. Nala said, some of us don't even know our neighbors. That's true. And what do they always say? It's the last one I would have expected.
Right.
Yep. But, so yeah, I mean, here it says sloth includes ceasing to utilize the 7 gifts of grace, which that's actually a new one for me. I haven't heard of that one. But it's the 7 gifts of grace given by the Holy Spirit, which are wisdom, understanding, counsel, knowledge, piety, fortitude, and fear of the Lord.
Mhm.
Such disregard may lead to the slowing of spiritual progress towards eternal life, the neglect of manifold duties of charity towards the neighbor, and animosity towards those who love God. Dude, is that not exactly what's happening?
Yes.
Slowing of spiritual progress towards eternal life. And dude, I mentioned the fountain of youth earlier. That's what I believe the fountain of youth is. I believe it is achieving eternal life. It is reaching that, that nirvana is what, some would call it. It's not eternal life. Like, it's not like I'm gonna look like this and be on this, planet in this realm forever. It's that spiritual eternal life. You know, this vessel, this body, you know, is going to deteriorate, but to keep that spirit going, that spirit alive, to be one with the universe, one with God, reaching nirvana.
Mhm.
Neglect of manifold duties such as charity towards the neighbor. And dude, And see, that's what annoys the shit out of me is so many people. What's up, Chrissy? That's what
Yes. Hey,
annoys me with
Chrissy.
so many people is charity. Like, dude, I will see somebody like I'll just like stop at like the street corner and hand money to like a vagrant on the side of the street who, dude, I've been in close contact with a lot of these vagrants, man, these peddlers, not peddlers, fuck you call them, starts with a P. Anyway, panhandler,
Yeah.
yeah, and dude, some of them, what do they do with all that money? They go buy a bottle, they go buy more dope, they're set up in a hotel room, fucking partying all night. They're not trying to make something better of themselves. They're not trying to restart their lives. They're not trying to go out and get a job, man. And, some of these people, like, I've even seen now, they're like, such and such disability can't work, need money. Dude,
Yeah.
like, okay, that might be true. And that's the fucked up part, is that might be true, but you don't know which ones are. And that's a whole other topic there,
Right.
best judgment, man. Use your best judgment is all I can say on that. But I mean, I've even seen stolen valor, man. People, going to the fucking army surplus store and wearing a rugged old beat up camel jacket and be like, I'm a veteran. No, one dude didn't have a leg. He claimed to be a veteran. All this, come to find out, dude never served a day in his life. And he was partying all night, fucking dope, hookers, fucking booze. Like, dude, yeah, there are so many veterans out there who are taking their lives, who are struggling, who have lost their families, who have lost fucking everything, dude. And feel however you feel about war. I disagree with war. I think all of our wars, almost all of them, have been bullshit. I think all of them have been manufactured. They're War is ugly. Anybody who says war is good or let's go to war is a fucking idiot. But motherfucker, respect our troops, man. You know, like you can't just walk away from the military. That's not how it works. These guys did what they had to do, if you believe in government as the almighty, then they are following orders. That's what they had to do because government said so. If you disagree with the government and you don't believe the government is necessary and should be all powerful like they fucking are, then you need to understand that they were sent to fight a war that was complete bullshit, and that is not their fucking fault, man. I mean, dude, they did use propaganda to get more recruits into the military. Like, dude, you should never hate on a veteran, but you definitely should never lie and say that you were a veteran or are in the military or anything, and especially not for a fucking handout. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. But with charities, people are so quick to give money to somebody on the street corner. But when it comes down to somebody like their neighbor or a coworker or a friend, whatever, being in need of just assistance, a hand, moving something, doing something, hey man, I need a hand with this real quick. They'll be the first ones to say, nah man, I'm too busy, or nah, I got some other shit to do. Like, you it's almost like they're trying to make themselves feel better by handing that dollar to somebody on the street corner. Oh, all the people I was a dick to today, everybody who I fucking cut in front of or was a fucking, rude motherfucker to all day. Here's a dollar. This makes it all better now. It's like that's what I chalk it up to. I really do. So let's see. Hello again, Christy. I know I was kind of right in the middle of a thought there. I won't lose it, but thank you for joining in, Chrissy. Nada said, "Oh heck, not in this shell, but in a life everlasting." Absolutely. No, I said disability doesn't mean discarded. Absolutely. And man, we're supposed to have all this assistance for the disabled and everything, man, but I don't feel like there really is, man. We're more concerned about making businesses pay extra money for ADA compliance than to actually help people with disabilities, whether it's rehabilitation. I mean, some people, they just need rehabilitation and it's too fucking expensive. Insurance won't cover it, whatever the case may be. Some people, man, they may not like, we are day to day, but where they can no longer function, they can still function in other areas, man. You know, I believe there's a job out there for everyone. And some of these people, they are down on their luck. They might not have the opportunity, might not have passed them yet, They might have just gotten dealt a bad hand in life, There are some of those cases. But we're definitely not truly doing enough to help people. Like I said, we're more concerned about making small businesses suffer monetarily with ADA compliance than helping people with disabilities function in the world. Because he says facts, and it was all over fake money. Nada said, there are archangels, so God believes in something to protect. Yes. Christy said, people don't know what our true government is versus a criminal corporation. Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, man, I mean, government's a whole nother topic, but, you know, we, all we need is ourselves, man. We need each other. We run the government. We tell the government what to do. The government works for us, and so many people have forgotten that.
Right. Absolutely.
So, unlike the other seven deadly sins, which are sins of committing immorality, sloth is a sin of omitting responsibilities, like we talked about. Next one is wrath. So, wrath can be defined as uncontrolled feelings of anger, rage, or even hatred. Wrath often reveals itself in the wish to seek vengeance. That is true. And I think my last podcast, somewhere around there, we were talking about that, like understanding when to take matters into your own hands and when not to.
Hmm.
Like, you know, like there's a time to call the police. There's a time you don't call the police. There's a time when you need to take immediate action and jump in and disrupt something or join a fight, whatever it may be. And there's a time to say, you know what, this is not my place to take any action right now. You know, God will God will judge them in the end. Their just desserts will come, and only God can dish it out. It's that moderation, it's that balance, it's finding that harmony of in between the two extremes. You
Hmm.
need to know when to act and when not to. Next, we've got envy. Envy is characterized as an insatiable desire, like greed and lust. It can be described as a sad or resentful covetousness towards the traits or possessions of someone else. So, definitely envy in the world when you look at celebrities and how much people idolize them, how much people like want to be them, have what they have, and they forget what they actually want in their heart. Like people think, oh, I want these designer clothes, or I want these name brand items, or I want these, fancy trinkets, whatever, because so and so has them. I mean, dude, what's the best marketing tactic for a clothing company? Get a celebrity to wear your shit, take lots of pictures of it. Hell, even say the name and endorse it. Start putting their faces on your fucking commercials and shit, and that makes people envious. Makes them say, I want that too. So it, I think envy. I feel like the envy is kind of fading out. They're not so focused on that like they have been for the last 10, 15 years. I feel like that lust has kind of came in. It's almost like a cycling. They're trying to start with like the smaller sins and work us into the more evil ones, like so to
Hmm.
speak.
I would like to read this next paragraph, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, according to St. Thomas Aquinas, the struggle aroused by envy has three stages. During the first stage, the envious person attempts to lower another's reputation. Who does that sound like?
Yes.
And then in the middle stage, the envious person receives either, quote, joy at another's misfortune, end quote, if he succeeds in defaming the other person, or, quote, grief at another's prosperity, end quote. Who does that also sound like? And the third stage is hatred because, quote, sorrow causes hatred, end quote. I tell you what, that totally sounds like the issue with ACAL and Ryan Up Church right there. And ACAL is the one who is envious, big time.
Dude, I believe anybody who is really trying to do good is facing that. Dude, I have been hit. All three of those stages I have experienced, like, against me. I've had so many people who are envious of me, and I'm like, and this is not me bragging, everybody. What the fuck is there to be envious of? Like, dude, okay, like, I have a good life. I do, you know, but I honestly believe I earned it. I worked for it. I went through my struggles. I had a terrible life for a while. I'm just living decent, dude. I try to live a simple life, man. I'm not I don't have anything glamorous. It's not like some like just fucking playgirl model over here, like I'm not wealthy, like in a rich, rolling in the dough kind of sense. I feel like I'm spiritually wealthy, but monetarily, we are not wealthy people. Like what is there to be envious of? But I feel like so many people are envious, and reading this breakdown really makes you think how many people there are around you that are envious of you because they do just that. They take joy at your misfortune. They
Absolutely.
they
And I'm
have they don't want to see you prosper, and when they do, they develop that hatred for you and that that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, they have like discontent with you. And it's like, I'm just another motherfucker. I'm nobody fucking special. Why are you envious? Are you that low? Are you that miserable in your life? Are you that bad of a person that you're going to envy me from because I consider myself true of heart and that bothers you? I think that's the only fucking answer.
right. I'm sure everybody here has also had that happen to them. If you had, just raise your hand in chat or just say whatever. It's ridiculous. I agree, babe. Absolutely. I'm going to finish this out. Bertrand Russell said that envy was one of the most potent causes of unhappiness, bringing sorrow to committers of envy, while giving them the urge to inflict pain upon others.
Yep.
So, what does that tell you, Stoner?
Oh, that tells me a lot right there. But do you see about the the envy? Third stage is hatred. So that envy, like you were talking about earlier, about pride being like the ultimate, the gateway, that right there, envy tells you that Envy opens up a doorway to wrath, hatred, right there. And not only this, but like I was saying a minute ago, why are they so envious? Because they're so bad, they're envious if you're good? Well, if that's the case, why don't you try to be good? Sloth. That unwillingness to take action, to hold yourself accountable, to do something about it. So you were definitely onto something like that. Yeah, it's like each one is like a stairs, almost like a pyramid. One leads to another, and then those two lead to another. More. So on and so forth. See, now that said, you can see this stuff all play out, not just in the morally corrupt are so apparent to me, not a flex or boast. Absolutely, and that's what I struggle with every day, Nada, is how can people not see the corruption, not see what is in front of them?
Right.
Like, the corrupt don't even, dude, they're terrible at hiding it. Either they're not trying to hide it anymore, or they've just gotten so complacent that they're slipping. But, dude, even as obvious and blatant as it is, people still don't see it. It drives me insane. It really
Absolutely.
does, dude. I don't care where you stand politically. The government's fucking corrupt. Fucking see it. Um, Nada said, I tell my sons change must happen for change to happen. That is true. Shit or get off the pot. Like, if you want a different result, then you have to change. Uh, Nada said, yep, been a stepping stone for a few. I think she was talking about with the people being envious.
Yeah.
Chrissy said, yep, and see it
Unfortunately.
happen to other people.
Um,
And
it's
that's the thing, man.
unfortunate.
Dude, don't be envious. Like, get off your ass and do something. Make a difference, man. Don't hate on somebody else because they won. They won at
And it
life, man. They do it the right way, and they're not just living in that excess, being corrupt. There's no reason to hate them. They won. Celebrate them. Fuck yeah, dude. I'm happy to see anybody fucking
absolutely.
win. Dude, somebody
Absolutely.
wins the fucking lottery and they're poor as shit, can barely put food on the table, and they win the lottery. Am I gonna be mad at them because that wasn't me? Fuck no. I'm gonna be hell yeah, man. I'm fucking
Mm-hmm.
happy for you, dude. There's one less
Mm-hmm.
person out there fucking struggling right now.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And back to envy, this is this is something at work, social media, everything we're trying to do, our goals, everything. Yeah, and I see it happen to a lot of other people too, everywhere. Like, you know, I know I'm not gonna let it break me. I know Katie's not gonna let it break her. Man, there's nothing to be envious of us about, man. We're just trying to do good in the world, man. And if that bothers you, do something about it. But if that really bothers you, then I mean, if we kind of follow the math here, that means you got, too much sloth to actually take a course of action and do something about it. It's like those people that'll sit there and talk shit all day, but they can't back anything up because there is nothing to back up, or even if there is, they're too lazy to get up off their ass and get it. So they're just gonna talk shit. Like, man, if you really want to be envious of me when there is fucking nothing, I wish you better in life, man.
Right.
But dude, don't look up to me. I'm not shit, dude. I'm really not. Just let me be. I want to let everyone else be.
Right. Same here.
So Nas says, have goals, celebrate even the small wins. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Like, community, man. Like, it's good to see your community and your people and your brothers and sisters, win, man. See somebody succeed and know that not everybody out there is suffering, man. Gives you a little bit of hope, gives you a little boost, man.
Absolutely.
Ricky said, sometimes the right people get rich. Shout out to Mr. Beast, lol. That was epic. Hell yeah. So, Last one, pride, like you were talking about. So, pride, also known as hubris or futility, is considered the original and worst of the seven deadly sins on almost every list, the most demonic. It is also thought to be the source of the other capital sins. Pride is the opposite of humility, which, cardinal virtue. So C.S. Lewis writes in Mere Christianity that pride is the anti-God state, the position in which the ego and the self are directly opposed to God. So I can kind of see that though, like as far as like the deeper meaning of it, like you know,
Yes.
like
To lose
I
oneself is
can't
to find
remember.
oneself.
Is it on here? Okay, hold on. Let me see. Because I know I've always heard that vanity was one too, but I think that one was probably rolled in with pride. But even like vanity, to have an idolization of not maybe necessarily yourself, but vanity over another, you know, to hold that person so high, you know, some people would even hold others higher than God, like God Himself. And you can see that. I mean, look at cults. To I don't know. I mean, you're more familiar with the cults and all that, Kitty. But from what I've seen, there's always like the leaders always got some like, how would you put that, enamoring quality to them. Something that just captures
Charismatic.
people. Whether it's charismatic or good looks or something, they always got that something that just enamors
Hmm.
people and drops that guard and allows them to rope them in.
It
But
does, and
even
then after that, what they do is then they tell the people they want to be in that cult. They like point out how special they are and how
yeah,
important they are, and get them acclimated to that, and then they feel very welcomed in. And then after they're in, it's like they strip them down to nothing and tear it all down and build them up who they want them to be. Anyway, that's going into that, but yes.
yeah. And Ricky said, false idols everywhere, man. Yes. I mean, there's nothing wrong with
Yes.
having an idol, having a role model, moderation, once again. But nobody should be held as high as or higher than God. I mean, dude, I honestly can't think of anybody that would even be close to the level of God. You know,
Hmm.
but anyway, pride itself too, once again, pride, nothing wrong with pride in itself. Like to take pride in your work or take pride
Right.
in your home, but taking pride to a higher level would be what? Being too prideful to admit you're wrong.
Right.
It could start as low as that, or so much pride that you consider yourself better. You consider yourself holier than thou. Um, you should only inspire each other, not look up to any person. Yes. And, take that with a grain of salt. I mean, role models, it's good to have positive role models and look up to somebody as a kid, but I feel like, as an adult, you can still look up to some people, your childhood heroes and all that, but, you know, to take somebody so seriously, to worship somebody, like I've even seen it with like Upchurch fans and everything, man. Some people like worship the ground he walks on. It's like, dude, hands down my favorite artist. I think he is a visionary, man. Has changed my life. I think very highly of the dude. But dude, dude, fucking Creek Squad for life, man. But some of these people worship the ground he walks on, and I think they see him as a, like, to the extent of a false idol. Like, man, he's just a man. He thinks outside the box. He's highly intelligent. He's highly talented,
Hmm.
but he is still just a man. At the end of the
Right.
day, he is still just one of us, man.
Right.
So stop. I hate to say it. There are a lot of the steak pit motherfuckers that say cult. We're not all a cult, but there are some that take it to a fucking cult level. You know,
Like you
like
said, there's nothing wrong with looking up to him. Shoot, even you and I look up to him. This is the reason why we started doing all of this to begin with. Trying to help out artists and doing this
yeah,
stuff
he
and everything
inspired
else.
us.
He is total inspiration. His music is phenomenal. We are Creek Squad for life. It does not matter. But at the end of the day, and even the same with Donald Trump, people are worshiping like pictures of him like he's a god, like have him on his wall and like praying to him. What are you doing that for? Dude, he's still just a
Yeah,
man. They're good men. Don't get me wrong. They are good men. And they are men to be looked up to 100%. And they have always came through on what they said that they were going to do. Both of them have. Now, that doesn't make them God, though.
absolutely. And dude, I voted for Trump. I believe in Trump. I think Trump is the best thing that's happened to this country in a long time. But you know what? Every now and then, Trump does something, and I'm like, I'm not sure about that. I question him. I look into it. I'm like, hey, this just isn't something I quite agree with. I see the bigger picture you're trying to go with here. I agree with the bigger picture, the end result you're trying to reach, but this specific course of action you took, I don't agree with. It's not how I would have done it. But that's the thing, man, is you're not gonna have a president or a leader of any sort in any part of life that you're gonna 100% agree with all the time, man. Like it's okay to say I disagree with Donald Trump on this, but like, dude, I still support him. I may disagree with him, but I support him. Just because somebody who you support does one thing that you don't agree with doesn't mean that you need to stop supporting them either. It's
Right.
that balance. Like, dude, it's okay to disagree. I disagree
Absolutely.
with Trump quite a few times now. I still support him. I still think he's
Right.
going to make a great difference.
Absolutely.
All right, so guys, I think we have finished the seven sins. So now we're going to take it to the lighter side.
Mhm.
So we have the seven cardinal virtues, or actually, I'm sorry. So the seven heavenly virtues, which combine the four cardinal virtues of prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude, with the three theological virtues of faith, hope, and charity. So we're going to dive a little deeper into this because I know this is less heard of. So the seven capital virtues, also known as the seven lively virtues, contrary or remedial virtues, are the opposite of the seven deadly sins. They are often enumerated as chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, kindness, patience, and humility. Real quick, Nada said some called them shysters. Pride to conceit is too far, and we can disagree, but stand with. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Gifts. Not sure what you mean by that, Nada. Gifts? Are you talking about like one of the sins, or while we're waiting for Nada's response here? So the term cardinal virtues.
Fruits of the Spirit. Fruits of the Spirit. That's what she means. Gifts. Fruits of the Spirit, babe.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha. Oh, hold on, Kitty. You want to take this for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So, cardinal virtues or the seven heavenly virtues. Let's see here. Cardinal virtues was first used by the fourth century theologian Ambrose. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was of Milan, who defined the four virtues as was first used by the fourth century theologian. Oh wait, as wow, I read that whole line over again as, quote, temperance, justice, prudence, and fortitude, end quote. They These were also named as cardinal virtues by Augustine of Hippo and were subsequently adopted by the Catholic Church. They are described as human virtues in the Catholic Catechism. So interesting. But before that, four qualities were identified by the Greek philosopher Plato as necessary character traits of a good man. And this is what's so interesting about all of this stuff, right? The Greeks, even back before we had the written word all in one book, they had these kind of ideals. It's very interesting. Y'all look into some of that. It's actually kind of fascinating, but it makes sense scientifically. It makes sense philosophically. Just very interesting. But anyway, they were also discussed by other ancient authors, such as Cicero. They can also be found in the Old Testament Book of Wisdom, which states that wisdom, quote, teaches moderation and prudence, righteousness and fortitude, and nothing in life is more useful than these, end quote. So, Stoner Man, do you want to just skip down to the table to go over those?
Yeah. One thing I was gonna say here, too. So the theological virtues are those named by Saint Paul in 1 Corinthians 13. Quote, and now faith, hope, and love abide, these three, and the greatest of these is love. So the third virtue is also commonly referred to as charity, as this is how the influential King James Bible translated the Greek word agape. And back to charity, when I was saying, people are so quick to throw a dollar out to ease their conscience than to actually lend a helping hand. Agape, we've talked about that word a lot, and
Yes.
we're gonna dive deeper onto the different types of love. But dude, agape is what I believe in with this whole project we're doing, man. And we want to take it to all seven aspects, all seven types of love. But agape, that's showing your neighbor love, showing your community love, showing a stranger love, kindness, help, charity, right there. And that's
Hmm.
one of the reasons that I am such a big believer in Creek Squad is because the real ones, the genuine ones out there, they believe in that. Hence, holler boy, holler girl. You know,
Right.
it's that agape that they are trying to transmit to have emanate from them. You know, we all want this greater good. We want the best for people. That is what that word means right there.
Right.
All right, so going down here, seven capital virtues. Um, so Prudentius, writing in the 5th century, was the first author to allegorically represent Christian morality as a struggle between the seven sins and the seven virtues. Right there, that struggle between light and dark, good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
evil and good. His poem Psychomachia depicts a battle between female personifications of virtues and vices, with each virtue confronting and defeating a particular vice. However, Prudentius did not base his allegory on the cardinal and theological virtues, nor did he use the traditional list of capital vices. So, the combatants in the Psychomachia are as follows: chastity, faith, good works, concord, sobriety, patience, and humility. So we're going to. That's actually all they got in that. So it looks like here the six in
I have a little bit of.
590 A.D. Sorry, go ahead. What?
Go ahead.
I would say in 590 A.D. the seven capital vices were revised by Pope Gregory I, which led to the creation of new lists of corresponding capital virtues, which were chastity, temperance, charity, diligence, kindness, patience, and humility. Go ahead, Kate.
I was going to say I did a little bit of research because um, on this a little bit more because I wasn't as I had a general idea, but I wasn't for sure each term for each seven virtue. Again, if you guys in the chat, if y'all are not Catholic, but y'all knew about that, like let's say you're Baptist, you're First Baptist, like I was, and you heard about that, let me know in the chat because I really don't remember it. I'm sure they did go over it, I just don't remember. But I did get a little bit more information if you want me to go down some of that with you.
Heck yeah. And Nada said, my bad, 7 sins versus 7 virtues contrast one another. Fruit of the Spirit on more direct Christian values. Gotcha, gotcha. So yeah, so basically what we were trying to do with this one was kind of show that what we just kind of covered there is, how the sins are supposedly removes you from the world. If these virtues were the opposite, oppose those sins, that would in turn bring you closer and more into the world. So, I mean, you see 7 a lot. Was there the 7 stages to nirvana, 7 sins, 7 virtues, 7 types of love, all of that. You see that 7 a lot. But
Absolutely.
let's go into that a little bit. So chastity, of course, the opposite of love, man. And once again, balance. Like don't be throwing it around. Whether you're male or female. Just all over. I mean, yeah, you got your when you're younger, you're wild, and might kind of get around a little bit, but there's a difference between just you know sowing your wild oats and being a slut. Let's just put it that way, blunt and honest. And that goes for men too, man. It really does. But you know, whatever your moral standing on intercourse and all of that, just don't confuse. I would say the best way to break it down for people to really not be told what to do, not to say what to do, but to just say how to think and how to look at it is, just don't forget that there is a difference between love and lust. Don't use lust as a filler, for a hollow part you have in your heart or your soul. Don't use lust to to try to heal something or cover something up, man. It's not going to get you anywhere whatsoever at all. Temperance, going against gluttony. So, you know, basically, like we talked about before, moderation, And actually, let's go ahead and break this one down. So, temperance, as described as a virtue by religious thinkers, philosophers, characteristics such as chastity, modesty, humility, self regulation, hospitality, decorum, abstinence, and forgiveness. Each of these involves restraining in the excess of some impulse, such as sexual desire, vanity, or anger. So, it is the opposite of gluttony, but this, as defined here, kind of makes it sound like it's not. But in other words, use use your that moderation. Like choose when to act, when not to act, when too much is enough. When biggest thing is that impulse, like what's the old saying, like I know it was big in Catholicism, the itch, like don't scratch the itch because it was the devil tempting you. I think people took that too literally. It's not the itch on your skin, what so many people were led to believe, like, oh, that itch right there on my leg, I can't scratch it because that's the devil tempting me. It's that itch to do something, to do a debasing act for lust or to choose to act out of anger or resentment or vengeance, to be able to control whatever urge you may have at that time, and to understand, okay, maybe this is not how I should act. I'm angry right now. This person really made me mad, but I don't need to act on this, because I'm too angry. I need to approach this with a cooler head. Cooler heads prevail. Um, Chrissy said, the 7 versus 7, is this a specific religion or can it be spiritual? And, Chrissy, I really think about that as dimensions, like we did a little short segment on that a while back about the different dimensions. You know, what if that ascension of our soul, ascension, going up as opposed to descending, going down, we're going up from the third dimension into the fourth dimension, fourth into the fifth. You know, maybe God can be found within that seventh dimension. We can perceive our dimension that we are in every dimension below, but we cannot perceive the dimensions above. So once we can, and we can perceive that seventh dimension because we have ascended, we have followed this list of virtues and denied that list of sins, and we are closer and more one with the world and the universe. That is when we will meet God. We will become one with God. You know. So I really think about that number was that, I mean, math has been around so long. Numbers are the universal language. Math is the universal language. Who's to say there wasn't some knowledge within that Bible? Once again, Bible being translated, mistranslated, tampered with, shit removed. There wasn't a more concise explanation about that. Maybe something was. I know in some of the supposed texts that I've read that are, missing books of the Bible, whatever, I do feel like the pieces of the puzzle make more sense. The picture forms a little bit more. But I have really thought about that number. And Katie, I know you know more about this than I do, but even like the Masons and how, their numbers with the 13 and with, I know, was it 7 was another one? Or were there
Seven, eight,
3?
eight.
Was 3 one?
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
What are the other ones?
3, 8, 12, 24. 13 is considered unlucky because it was on the 13th that basically Friday the 13th, whenever a lot of them were burnt alive at the stakes.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I do believe there's a lot with the numbers, and even what was it? The Statue of Liberty. Was it the spikes on the crown?
Mm, I
How
don't
many
remember
were
how
there?
many. Let's see.
I remember I was watching something about that. They were showing all of the Masonic symbolism in the Statue of Liberty and all that.
7.
Was 7? So
Hmm.
7 was another one. That's right. But yeah, I mean, I believe in sacred geometry and all of that. So you know, Masons know more about that than I do for sure. Nala said lust is short term for sure, absolutely. But it's that it's like yeah, lust can be very enjoyable, but so can all the sins. All the sins can be enjoyable, and I think that's why they're so appealing. They're meant to be appealing. The devil wants to draw you in with that quick and easy fix, that easy burst of dopamine. That's what the devil wants. But what people don't realize is, yeah, those sins may feel good, but the virtues feel even better. Like, man, anytime I can make somebody's day, anytime I can make a positive impact, have somebody just show somebody some love and you can just tell like it meant something to them, dude, that is so much more powerful and means so much more. And dude, for me, doing what we started doing, trying to better ourselves and to help others, that is a drug that is addicting, and I want more of it all the time. And people would rather go get something off the street and be addicted to that than be addicted to something that is healing not just for your soul but for others. That is way more addicting and feels so much better when you recognize what like it for what it is. And yeah, the sins are they're a quick burst of dopamine. They're meant to be easily accessible and to feel good. Gluttony, stuffing your face feels good, but what are you doing to your body? What are you taking away from others by having that excess, and not just of food, but even of money? Gluttony for possessions, like the sins the sins are the easy way, but there are better, more healing things out there. You just have to be able to recognize it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Nana said it's in the Bible, Chrissy, the number of times you should forgive when you've been wronged. I vaguely remember hearing something about that. I never knew there was like a specific number like that, but I vaguely remember hearing something about that. Kitty, have you ever heard
Yeah,
that before?
it's the tale of one of the disciples.
Is it?
And well, actually, no, that's a different one. That was whenever that's a different story. So this tale was actually something that whenever one of his disciples had asked him, or one of the people in the crowd had asked him how many times should he be forgiven, and that's pretty much whenever he kind of goes into that. Everything
Uh,
in the Bible is a parable, though. It's just beautiful.
yeah. So, um, Nana said 49 books in the Bible by keeping our vibrations high. See, yeah, Nana, like, I'm all about that. The vibrations, how vibrations from, certain music can harm you, and the frequencies can damage your body. Radio waves, things that our bodies are being hammered with every day, radiation and all of that, you know, I mean, light even. I mean, well, light, photons are weird. Sometimes they can, be a particle, sometimes they can travel as a wave. Um, but, like, for the most radio waves, microwaves, light, whatever, everything's in the waves. Sound is in waves, and what do you measure waves in? Frequency. It's how many hertz or megahertz, kilohertz, whatever. You turn on the radio, what do you see? Like such and such megahertz, it's the frequency. And that frequency, even if we don't have that radio station on, that signal is still being transmitted all around us all the time. Every radio station that you are in range of, your body is being hit by those radio waves. Honestly, I believe, to anybody out there who has ever done that, you have a song stuck in your head and you turn on the radio and it's playing. Like, is that is that manifestation that you're manifesting that song to be on the radio because you had it in your head and you subconsciously were like, man, I kind of want to jam to that song right now? Or is your brain somehow receiving that signal from that radio station, and you're hearing that song in your head, that's why when you go and turn it on it's playing, because it's like, okay, well, I was hearing the radio in my head. I mean, it's just one of those trippy things, man. Like, but yes, vibrations all around us. And I believe when for me, I don't like talking to people. I'm just not somebody to sit there and just talk to people all day and just, socialize and all that. But every now and then you get that person that you vibe with, man. You're cool. You can sit there and bullshit with them all day, and you're not a bullshitter. You're not a social person, but I believe that's because your frequencies are meshing, is creating a harmony there. And if we can all resonate on that same level, that same frequency, we would feel more of that agape around us and for each other. Chrissy said, I never read the Bible. I don't trust as well. Don't trust religions. I do believe in God and He is within us all. I'm with you there, Chrissy. I have not like read the Bible. I've read parts of it. I have been around a lot of the what do you call it? Like the hearing the passages and stuff growing up and the verses and all of that. Um I'm not somebody that could sit there and tell you, yes, this is that book or whatever. And I used to definitely feel the same way that I don't trust it all. I still don't trust it. But as they say, there's truth in every lie. As incorrect and as bastardized as the true word of God may be to this day, there is some sort of truth in there. And I do try to read more of it so that I can find that little bit of truth that might be in there and I can try to put those pieces together. But man, if anybody can ever find the video, I know every time I find it, it's like it's fucking gone again, and I think there's a reason for that. But it's the true teachings of Jesus. It really tells you a lot more insight and it makes a lot more sense about what prayer is, about manifestation, about how Jesus was able to do the things that he was like capable of doing, and that is what basically that is where it was stated that we are all capable of reaching that level. We all have that capability to perform those same miracles in us. But to do that, I mean, they say, walk with God, go with God. They say accept Jesus into your heart. What does that mean? Just accept him into your heart. What if that means you have to get closer? What if to get closer, you have to walk the path of the righteous? You have to live by his teachings. And at that point, when you start to actually understand what the Word of God truly is, we will all be able to have those same abilities. That's my thought on it anyway. Nala said, in my opinion, what books were kept from the Bible has to do with our spiritual ascension and God power over all living things as said in the Bible. Yes. Yes, I do think it was meant to keep us from reaching that point of ascension. So many people take the Bible literally, and I was guilty of that at a time too until I started realizing how to break down the allegory and how to read between the lines and like Kitty was saying earlier, putting yourself into the mindset that people were in at the time that it was written. It's like go back. Okay, here's an example. Andy Griffith to the younger generation, they would say they're watching that, and they're like, why is it when they talk on the phone they're always talking really loud? They're like yelling. They don't know that. Okay, well back then, you know, technology wasn't as advanced, and especially long distance, that signal degraded. So by talking louder, it didn't really. I mean, yeah, it did boost the signal because the stronger sound waves were able to travel a little bit farther, but also, to be able to speak a little more louder made it easier to hear, especially on, they didn't have high grade speakers they could fit in a little phone box, like technology was different. But the whole point of that is, you know, people are like, well, why can't they just, FaceTime or something? It's putting yourself into the mindset. Okay, well, you know, 60 years ago, technology was different. So you have to understand they did things differently, or they talked about things differently. What the fuck is a dime store? What's a dime store? Okay, well, back then, that's what was around. Or why are they talking about going to the drugstore to get a soda? And that's where you went for a soda back then. It's you have to understand the time and the events that were taking place, and events that hadn't taken place yet, to be able to understand what somebody is talking about. Does that make sense, Kitty? How I'm trying to put that? I feel like I kind of butchered that,
No, I think it makes sense, babe.
but um, let's see here. Another said it's not a have to so much as a new desire to walk the narrow path. Absolutely. Chrissy said, shouldn't we be more in tune to ourselves and pay attention to all the sense to be with God truly?
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. I don't know, man. I don't have all the answers, but like we always say in our podcasts and stuff, man, just do your research. I'm not saying that anything we've covered tonight is necessarily true. I believe it is because I see it around me. I see it in the world. I've witnessed personally the difference, and you know I'm not saying you have to believe in Christianity, believe in the sins and virtues and all of that, but look at the more simplified meaning of it. Good and evil, moderation, knowing enough is enough, or maybe you need more of something. Maybe there's a lack of something that is the problem. But I mean, there's good and evil, right and wrong, man. And I feel like that's what really all the religions kind of boil down to, man. Be good. Fucking one of my favorite quotes ever, Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. Dude, a fucking stoner movie had so much sense in it with that one line. Am I fucking wrong? Be excellent to each other, dude. That's all it takes, man. At the end of the day, that's all it is, man. And you can say, well, greed doesn't have anything to do with being good to somebody. Yes, yes, it does. If you are greedy, then that greed will in turn hurt other people. Why? Because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Physics, religion, common sense, man. We can tie shit together and connect dots and strings all fucking night long here. But, I mean, Katie, am I wrong? Is that really not what it boils down to? Be excellent to each other, moderation, balance, simple
Right,
shit.
right, pretty
Why
much.
is why is that so hard for people? It seems like just so fucking simple, does it not?
Yeah, and I think a lot of it has to do with people justify things to themselves, or and it all starts from like one sin. It could feel small at the time, but that sin builds, you know, and it
Absolutely.
just kind of progresses from there.
Absolutely. Sorry, just responding to the chat here real quick. So on a lighter note, has anybody seen Bill and Ted 3? I have not yet. First two movies, fucking awesome. Love them. I am kind of concerned to watch the third one because I really hope they didn't bastardize it like they do a lot of reboots, way later on, bring back fucking sequels and shit. But Bill and Ted was good, man. There's a lot of shit that in there that, you smoke a little bit, you're definitely gonna be kind of like, whoa. But anyway, Kitty, do you have anything else to add to the sins of virtues list?
A little bit. So I'm going to break this down a little bit more so
Yeah, go for
with the associations, both the demon and the angel associations with each. So the first, deadly sin, pride, of course, associated with Lucifer. The opposite of that, the virtue is humility. The association is Archangel Raphael. Um, then we have, of course, lust. The association is as Asmodeus, I believe you say it. Chastity is the opposite of that, the virtue. Archangel Uriel. The third, gluttony, associated with Beelzebub. Makes sense, right? Opposite of that, the virtue is temperance, association, angel Cassiel. Not
it.
Castiel from Supernatural, but Cassiel with two S's. I've actually not heard of him. The fourth one would be greed associated with Mammon. And the opposite, the virtue for that is charity associated Archangel Michael. I've always loved Michael. Michael is like a thing in our family, I swear. Okay. Fifth one is sloth associated Belphegor, if that's how you pronounce that. Um, Obviously, the opposite, the virtue is diligence, association, Archangel Gabriel. All right. The next one we've got wrath associated with Satan. So this is where I got confused. According to this one, this is like one of those sites that it broke it down a little bit more and it kind of gave you some. So, but aren't Satan and Lucifer the same? I thought they were the same. So maybe they've got two. I don't know. Opposite of that, the virtue is patience. Association with that is Angel Azrael. And then the last one we've got is envy, associated with Leviathan. And its opposite, the virtue kindness, associated with Archangel Ramiel. All right, now you already went into where the sins came from and the virtues came from. We already kind of went into that, but I actually dug into the psychomachia, sorry. And that is actually very interesting, guys. It was translated and written by Aurelius Prudentius Clemens in 1743. I'm going to put this link in the chat. Um, if you guys want to um, read it, let's see. Is it going to let
While,
me?
while you're doing that, Kitty, I want to read this off too. So, in Paradise Lost, which is an epic, the English poet and revolutionary Republican John Milton has the Archangel Michael expound on the value of temperance, or what he calls the rule of not too much, a virtue he states has the benefit of conferring long life on the temperate person. So, this is an excerpt. There is, said Michael, if thou well observe, the rule of not too much by temperance taught, in what thou eatst and drinkst, seeking from thence due nourishment, not gluttonous delight, till many years over thy head return, so mayst thou live, till like ripe fruit thou drop into thy mother's lap, or be with ease gathered, not harshly plucked, for death mature. That is beautiful.
That is beautiful. Absolutely. And speaking of reading, I'm going to read y'all an excerpt from the Psychomachia, The War of the Soul, or The Battle of the Virtues and Vices. All right, this is, I believe, page 73 of 74. Now, save, now damn, into perdition send. Oft have I felt the influence of the God when in my soul he fixed his fair abode, did strength to every faculty impart, and drive the crowd of rebels from my heart. But soon their glittering scenes of joy were over, and vice and darkness triumph as before. Wars, horrid wars within my bosom rage, and man's two natures furiously engage. So That also reminded me of the parable of the wheat and the tares. And there's a few other different verses in the Bible, but this is Matthew 12. Yeah, no, I think it's 13. Yeah, 13, 24 through 30. Another parable he put forth of them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is like a man who sowed good seed in his field. But while men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went away. But when the grain had sprouted and produced a crop, then the tares also appeared. So the servants of the owner came to him and said, sir, did you not sow good seed in your field? How does it have tares? And he said to them, and an enemy has done this. The servant said to him, do you want us to go and gather them up? But he said, no, lest while you gather up the tares, you also uproot the wheat within them. Let both grow until the harvest, and at the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, first gather together the tares and bind them in bundles to burn them, and gather the wheat into my barn. So let's get into that because that. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that, Stoner Man? Chat like that kind of. It almost tells you there's not just one good person, and this is what I've always thought. It's not just one person is bad and one person is good. We have both capabilities within each of us, and it's our choice what we do.
Oh yeah, and I mean, with some exceptions, I mean, I would say certain things like possession and dark influence and everything, but I also believe that leads to your your so what I'm looking for your fuck, I'm drawing a blank for words tonight, but like your how strong you are to be able to resist, for lack of a better word, how capable you are of resisting that that evil influence, that possession, so like, yeah, we all have a choice, but sometimes there are things that take control. But then again, if you have the a will strong enough, you should be able to resist those temptations, resist that influence. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then I'm going to go back to another tale, and this is, I'm sure most people have heard this about the two wolves within. One evening, elderly Cherokee brave told his grandson about a battle that goes on inside people. He said, my son, the battle is between two wolves inside us all. One is evil, it is anger, envy, jealousy, sorrow, regret, greed, arrogance, self pity, guilt, resentment, inferiority, lies, false pride, superiority, and ego. The other is good. It is joy, peace, love, hope, serenity, humility, kindness, benevolence, empathy, generosity, truth, compassion, and faith. The grandson thought about it for a minute and then asked his grandfather which wolf wins. The old Cherokee simply replied, the one that you feed.
Very fucking
See, and
true.
you have, and this is where I get nerded out and I start going through all these different places in history. I'll like look at, of course, what the Catholics had done for this period of time because they're the ones that kind of came up with this. Then I'll skip over to Greek and see what they've got there. Then I'll skip over to some Native Americans. Say, yeah, kind of nerding out here, but y'all tell me what y'all think in the chat.
Heck yeah. And that reminds me, I'm not sure. As far as I know, he's an independent artist. I could be wrong, but Cody Jinks, a country artist. Anybody hasn't heard of him? He's actually really fucking good. But he did that song, "Which One Will I Feed?" And he's talking about that tale, like the two wolves inside of him, and basically that choice he has to make of which one he's gonna feed, which one he's going to let take control. So Chrissy said she knew about that story. Heck yeah.
Hmm.
Like, yeah.
Hmm.
And man, like, I believe in God and all that, but the natives, I feel like, really were very in tune to ascension, to
Hmm.
what it took to be one with nature, to be one with, with God. They didn't believe in, God, but I believe that was the equivalent. So, like I said, I believe there's a little bit of truth in them all. They're all meant to have the same purpose, the same goal, you know.
Right.
Did you have another
Absolutely.
excerpt?
That was pretty much it. But I will. Okay, I'm gonna do my little random thing that I do on y'all every once in a while, and you're gonna be sitting there like cooking your dinner or cleaning the house, and you're gonna be like, why did she say that? And then it might click with you. Okay, so the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? It talks about the sons of light versus the sons of darkness in the apocalyptic war at the end times. Okay. What if I told you that there was also a tale of that with Atlantis, with the sons of light and sons of darkness? Okay, I'm done now.
Hey, you never know. Maybe that's where it spawned. You know,
Like it's all in a
maybe.
cycle.
Yeah.
All in a cycle.
Well, I
Eh,
mean, we've even talked about before. This is the first time we've been on this planet, man. Maybe we nuked ourselves all out, or some big fallout, some apocalyptic casualty. A grand scale. We're starting over. But definitely could make another episode out of that. Talking about theory of evolution and
right.
you know the bones. I can't remember where it was, but the big archaeological discovery with the bones. People said they were planted there. They weren't actually discovered. All of that, but that would definitely be a good episode for you because I know that's your forte there. So, but well, everyone, I really hope that I know a lot of you out there in the chat and everything. I know you guys, kind of see a lot of similarities and stuff like that, and like kind of see things similar to how we do. But for the people out there who are newcomers to the videos, just stumbling across it, whatever, you know, I really hope that we can make a positive impact. We're not here
Mhm.
changing anybody's mind. We just want to promote good people and not just promote like, market in a marketing sense, but like promote like just inspiring people to be good, to do good. Like just, think about what what your actions, like what effect your actions have, day to day. Whether it's cutting in front of somebody or being rude, not holding the door open to something greater,
Mhm.
like snatching that $20 bill out of the till, with the mindset of, oh, it's a big corporation, that won't hurt them, whatever. I'm all for some Robin Hood shit, man. You know, taking from the rich, giving to the poor when the rich are gluttonous and greedy and all of that. But just because, you're a big corporation doesn't make you evil. Like, not just
Mm.
in and of itself. Some people really started a great company, man, and were successful, but regardless, once again, that goes back to temperance. Self control, is this an impulse I need to act on? Should I snatch that $20 bill? Is it my place to say this is the right course of action? Is this my place to punish this company or punish this person or say, hey, so and so, he's been a dick to me all day, so I'm gonna grab his, tools out of his bag, man. I need to. I need a new hammer, or what the fuck ever, a new drill, whatever. He's an asshole. He deserves to have it stolen. Like, is that your place? Is that the impulse you should act on? Is that your place to say he is deserving of this? What if he had a bad day? What if he didn't realize he was being a dick to you? You know, maybe some things should be left for the universe, karma, God, whatever, however you want to see, whoever you want to see make that judgment. But you see somebody in need, you know, don't don't be slothful. Jump in, lend them a hand, do something, stand up for them, whatever the case may be. Once again, it all boils down to common sense, judgment, you know, knowing in your heart, man, this is the right course of action to take, or no, this is not the right course of action to take.
Right. Absolutely.
Chrissy said, "Why steal fake money?"
That's awesome, Chrissy. That's awesome.
Anybody who wants to see us do, ooh, yeah, this one will definitely get. Anybody who wants us to get into some greenback or Illuminati, let us know. I'll deal with the man in black mask come up to my window.
Babe.
Get it? Do you get it?
Hmm.
What is it? That's why I sleep with the 5.56, always loaded. Heard stories of
Chrissy
strange men
says,
dressed in black masks come up to people's windows.
Chrissy says, better yet, why steal a debt note? That's a good one, too.
Oh,
That's pretty
absolutely,
funny.
absolutely. And that's another thing was like just the whole how we base what our money and what the value is and exchange rates and all of that. Like it just I mean I get how it works, how like, but it just seems like just such an illogical, arbitrary fucking way to do it.
Hmm.
Chrissy says, "Yes, I have some info for you if you don't know."
Yeah.
Woo! Yeah, yeah. Hit us up, Chrissy.
Hmm.
Always ready to go into some deep dives on that stuff. I had something to say about that too. We were talking about the value of the money and all of that. Damn it! I had something good I was gonna say too. Uh, so death note, a death note. We're talking about what the fuck was I gonna say, Kitty?
Baby.
What?
I don't know. Baby, I
What
can't
did I
read your
say?
mind.
What did I say after that? Help me out here. What did I say after that?
I don't remember, baby. You said a lot. I really don't remember.
No, like
I
just
love
now.
you. I
Just
love you. I don't remember. I really don't remember.
Because he said, "Stoneman, all those words you spoke is not what we was taught." True, true.
Mm-hmm. Very
Oh,
true.
that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. So, Chrissy, okay, so you seem like this would definitely be something you're interested in. You probably already heard it, but Nasera Jacera,
Yes, Miss
and
Sarah.
I am going to put that in the chat, and hopefully I don't butcher it. But if you have not heard of that, Chrissy, is I highly recommend taking a look at that, and it is definitely, for me, it really made put into perspective how just ridiculous the whole monetary system, banking system, inflation, commerce in general has gotten. I already knew it was all corrupt and all of that, but she said she has. She said she has. Hell yeah. But we'll totally do another episode on that one for sure. Chrissy, if we do an episode on that, the Sarah Sarah or some, Illuminati stuff, whatever you want to do an episode with us, we would love to have you on. Hear what you have to say. That would be cool as hell. So, If you're
Absolutely.
down, we'll set something up for sure.
And Stoner Man, before we go for the evening, I did send you, I believe it's a reel. Angie has made some more things.
Oh, did she?
She is, yeah. So if you could just kind of showcase those whenever you have time before
Yeah,
we
did you
end
send
it.
on Instagram?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Okay.
So you guys, we basically like, yeah, we're here to help all the, independent artists, like the ones that stand on integrity and truthfulness and, really have a heart for their music and their fans and treat people right. We're trying to do this not just with musicians. We're actually going to be working on this with a lot of different areas out in the world. And just by doing this little bit right here, this is a woman who's making her own things here. You know, I'm going to support her. I mean, I've kind of gotten to know her a little bit. She's, you know, freaking sharp. You can tell by what she posts and stuff like that. And she could tell she's a good person as well. Loves her, loves her adult kids or her adult son, at least the one I know of. But yeah,
All right. So Chrissy sent something. I'm definitely curious. I'm trying to figure out what this is, but I'll throw that up on there next
okay,
after we do Angie's here.
okay, yeah. I see that little.
All right. So here is. You said these are reels.
Yes.
Heck yeah. So hotel keychains with cute phrases made by myself, $5 each or two for seven. Shipping is extra. I'm not sure how well y'all can see that, but in my
You're
Badkin
gonna need to
area, that
probably
curb
put it up a
hit
little
me.
bit bigger.
Oh, I can't on Instagram here. The getaway car, best dad ever. Sunshine mixed with a little hurricane. These are cool. These are cool. Yeah, guys. Anybody want to check these out, man? These are keychains that she made herself. Her name is Angela Moore. Her handle on Instagram is amore1081. Can you drop her profile in
Yeah,
the
I will.
in,
And there is a second one of some other stuff as well.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm gonna get that one next. But yeah, definitely go check her out, guys. If you like us, you like, supporting, not just small businesses, but even people doing little side hustles and stuff like that, man. You know, people who have integrity and stuff that we always talk about. Just trying to make a living and do their thing, man. I'd rather. I mean, dude, this kind of stuff right here, I'm looking at is shit I see on Timu and all that shit. And I mean, dude, what are they gonna beat her by a couple dollars, man? Like, for us, it's worth a couple more dollars to help somebody like this, small time, like Angela, over, you know, fucking China mass produced cheap bullshit.
Right. And
Support
American
these
made.
little people. Yes, and
Absolutely.
absolutely made in America. So
Hmm.
here she's got beauty grab bags, $15 each. Shipping is extra. Looks like she's got an assortment of like some chapstick and looks like some necklaces. I'm not even sure what all that is. Looks like hair ties or something.
I cannot
Some
see it.
hair
Let me look.
clips. But yeah, I wish I could blow this up for you more, guys. But they look like just kind of gift bags, like something you might, just give as a gift to somebody, maybe for like a shower or something like that, or maybe just like a little party favor or something, whatever the case be. But I mean, dude, $15. I mean, it looks like you got a bag of goodies there. Like
Hmm.
I'm probably not the best person to advertise this because I'm not sure what all I'm looking at, but
That's what.
Katie, Katie,
If
you
I
could
could see
totally,
it, if I could see
yeah.
it better, I would kind of go into that a
But
little
yeah,
bit.
I
But yeah,
mean,
no, that looks like a really good deal for what all's in there, from what I can see.
yeah. And guys, go check her out on Instagram, man. See what she's got. I know she's got all kinds of stuff. She had like necklaces and all kinds of stuff she makes, man. Um, but yeah, dude, she's got cool stuff out there, man. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you may just need like a small gift for somebody, or maybe their little like work party or something. A little, nice gifts for some, female coworker or whatever. But yeah, guys, please go check her out, man. Angela Moore, A Moore 1081.
Yes. And her profile is in the chat.
Heck yeah. And thank you, Angela. You've always shown us a lot of love, so we try to
Mm-hmm.
show that back in return, absolutely. All right, so on to this. Chrissy said, check out onestupidfuck.com. His name is Brandon Williams. I have been doing his course. Brandon's course is free. He don't believe in charging, knowing what money truly is. I like that. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So, this is definitely interesting. I was looking at this. Welcome to my burning dumpster fire of a website. I hope you hate it as much as I do. What is this? Alright, so click here if it's your first time here and you don't know where to start. I am going to scroll down here real quick though. A horny, worthless, racist bastard looking for his next victim. What the shit is this? Alright, so step-by-step guide. Welcome, bitch. What did you do to deserve the absolute shit karma to wind up on this website? You're probably wondering what to do now that you've wandered into this burning crack house. Well, let me assist you. I totally understand that there's a ton of stuff here, so this page is to get you rolling on your adventure here and make sure you don't get in trouble or do some dumbass shit. So most importantly, this is a non-combative movement. You don't gain control over and handle that of which you hate or treat like an enemy. We create our own enemies in life, and our interests come straight out of the Sun Tzu material. We know our enemies so fucking well that they cease to be our enemy. That's the secret sauce. Wow. I like that. I
Mm-hmm.
like that a lot.
Art of War.
If you want to be combative or you are here because you hate the government and the IRS, well, I hope my material can rapidly change your mind. You won't believe me now, but when the government and the banks are paying all your bills, you won't be mad anymore. If you want proof of the wild-eyed statement, all your bills are obligations of the government. You can take a look at 18 USC 8 if you don't believe me. That said, I'm going to show you around a little here and give you the grand tour of my trash heap website that will keep your panties soaked very, very rapidly. This is fucking funny. First and foremost, you should sign up now for my free contract killer course. These are sign up links all over. There are sign up links all over and even a pop up ad. So if you can't figure out how to do that, then you may want to examine how you successfully feed yourself every day. See, this is the kind of shit I would write. Just some sarcastic shit like this. Fuck yeah.
Totally, babe.
You will need to sign up, then also opt in on your email to get the course. Find the opt-in email somewhere in your spam junk folder if you don't see it. Otherwise, you will not get the course unless you find the opt-in email and click the link and sign up. There is a lot of shit here. Contract Killer Course is a show and tell version of my State National Theory page. The 2.0 version of the free Contract Killer Course came out on August 18, 2024. If you're a goddamn machine and you've already devoured the entire theory page, plus Sean, I will be very clear and tell you that no, I will not send you more videos per day. Unless you send me news or some shit, or invite me over for pillow fights with you and your friends, females only, I'm not giving you any more videos than one per day that come naturally. Um, there's all kinds of shit here. By the time you finish the course and theory page, you're going to be an annoying dumbass and say, well, what do I do first? The answer is do whatever you want. There isn't necessarily a set first, second, third. If you're employed, you should give your employer a W-8-BEN and a new I-9. You will also need to send the IRS the 8822B and cover letter that I now give away for free on my Nation of Amnesty Coalition page. If you're self-employed, then you only need to send in 8822B. Next, you could start building foreign trusts and get rid of your companies or corporations. You could also go and get your new passport, do whatever you want. You want to do your passport rapidly, but you want to make sure that you really understand all the basics before you do your passport. As
Interesting.
for social media, there's been some change on my focus, blah blah. There's a lot to read here. I'm definitely very, very intrigued. Thank you, Chrissy, for this.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
Thank you, Chrissy.
here's a quick little frequently asked questions. Um, so this is about discharging debts. Huh. This is some really interesting stuff, Chrissy. Thank you so much for this.
Yeah, absolutely.
If I'm a female and hot as fuck and I just want to ask stupid questions, are you more likely to respond and answer them? Of course, I have a penis, but that just means the runway before you annoy me is just slightly longer. This is- oh, I like this guy already. But yeah,
Chrissy
no.
says,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Chrissy says, I'm trying to understand before doing anything.
Heck yeah. So Chrissy, I'm
Absolutely.
trying to kind of just, for the viewers and everything, get a kind of a rundown on what exactly this is, just kind of in a nutshell. But to me, it sounds like this is more or less one of those deals, you know, reawakening people to our legal rights and all that stuff, and
Right.
outmaneuvering the government and, you know, the fucking IRS. Like, dude, the IRS I could go on and on about. You know, I firmly believe that needs to be abolished, man. Like we
Mm-hmm.
can, like I said before, people who are wealthy and everything. I believe it shouldn't be a requirement. It should just be a natural, like organic urge to give back to your community and help people out. I don't believe that the wealthy should pay more in taxes. I don't believe anybody should pay fucking taxes. You work fucking hard for your money. You should get to keep that.
Right.
But, people who want to give back to their community, and who want to see their small towns stay alive but not overtaken by, having to cave and give in to, government grants and have to, do what the puppet master says to keep that cash flow so that they can stay afloat. All
Mm-hmm.
that dirty fucking shit that they play and ways that they sneak in and take control, all of that. But
Right.
she said he is also on YouTube, Brandon Joe Williams. He helps finance freedom. Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
And I love, like Patriot Mobile. I think that was Dan Bongino that got us hearing about that. But Patriot Mobile, just especially people who promote privacy, free speech, stuff like that. Like the
Mm-hmm.
amount of our information sold and passed around on the internet is insane. There is no fucking privacy anymore. Even products that are advertised as private are not private. Um, you really gotta know what you're doing to be private. I mean, even VPNs. Everyone's like, "Oh, hey, VPN, then you are invisible. Nobody will ever see anything." No, no, that's not how it works, man. VPN is a tunnel. It stands for Virtual Private Network. It is basically a tunnel. Imagine, imagine taking a string, really long, thin string of paper and writing a message on it, and you're just passing it along. You can see it and read it. But if you pass it through a pipe, like just take some PVC pipe or something, you pass it through that pipe, you can't see what it is, right? That's the VPN, that's the tunnel. But before it enters that pipe, you see it. When it comes out of that pipe, you see it. So, if you are on the other end of that pipe, you know where that pipe ends, and you're on the other end of that pipe, you will see that message. That message being the data you're transmitting on the internet. So, just because I won't nerd out too much on this, but just because you use a VPN does not mean you are completely safe and private. Please know that, people. Please do your research. If you really truly want to be private, there are ways to do it, but you gotta do some research. You gotta know how to work the system. You gotta know a little bit about computers and networking and all that. There are ways to be anonymous, but just remember, the most private computer is one that is not plugged in. No matter what you do, no matter how good you are, how smart you are, there is no 100% completely, uncrackable computer software or database, whatever.
Right.
Quantum computing, I believe, will definitely bring us to a point where that will be closer to fruition, but I'm still on the fence of whether or not that will ever actually truly happen. Where there's a will, there's a way, kind of deal. But
Right. Chrissy says, I'm on course 4 and my brain took a shit. Dude, that would totally be me. I'll tell you, with this kind of stuff, Chrissy, I'm going to be honest with you, girl. I do course 1 and my brain be taking a shit already. He can tell you. But this sort of stuff, I'm just like, yeah, I can read like legal documents and stuff, but I start getting stressed out whenever I know it's stuff to do with the government and stuff. Just,
dude, you were so like you didn't even like intake that whole video about devolution. Like you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that a couple more times. But
we
that's
watched, we watched one.
yeah, twice.
I don't.
But see, that's the thing though, there's all these safeguards in place, man. There's our forefathers, and they created a foundation, and there have been a select few that have come in and built on top of that. But there are there's so much out there that people are not aware of that exists, that protects us as we the people, that protects our true, chief of staff, commander in chief. Like they don't realize that, but devolution is one of those things, man. That is how we are going to take back control away from the elites, away from the corporation of the United States. So Christy said 1 through 3 is all about words. 4 gets into forms and words.
Huh. That does sound interesting, though, for real.
But see, that's the thing, man. Words, like I don't know like what she's meaning exactly about that, but I mean, dude, how many Upchurch videos are there where he's breaking down words?
Right.
And it's like the meaning that we know versus the meaning that was intended, and this is so obvious, we completely miss that obvious because we've been told this is what that word means, not this. You know, well, poetry's art, right? We were just talking about art earlier, like a painting, everybody can interpret it differently. There's multiple interpretations to words, and the way you express them and use them, put them together is art. So therefore, words can take different forms and different meanings.
Right.
But but yeah, no, I'm all for freedom, promoting freedom, loopholes to, you know, make it easier for we the people to survive, pay the bills, man. So many people are struggling to put food on the table and everything right now. Any help these people can get, any loophole to, keep the IRS a little bit more out of your pocket, the government, whatever it may be. Um, Chrissy said black law and etymology. That is something
Huh.
I grew up with, was etymology.
Uh-huh.
I remember, I know a lot of people, well, maybe not anymore in the newer generations, but a lot of people, like growing up, they remember, hey, what's this word mean? I don't know. Go get a dictionary and look it up. Mine, I was never told that. I was told, well, break down the word. This is the Latin root. This is what it means, blah, blah, blah. This is what this part of the word means. So when you put it all together, this is what it equals. And even, process of elimination and context and all of that. Okay, well, this is the context. This was the sentence. So let's look at the subject. Let's look at the, the tone and everything, and let's try to infer what the meaning of that word was. It was never go get a dictionary and look it up, because it wasn't relying on somebody else's description, somebody else's data. It was using this to decide what the word meant.
Well, I still think it's actually good for kids to go and look it up.
Yeah, but
Too.
when you go and look up the word versus being able to break down, like let's take something simple as dis,
Mm-hmm.
So associate means to make a connection between two things. You're associating the two. To disassociate, if you didn't know
To
what
break.
what that meant, but you knew what associate meant,
Mm-hmm.
you'd be like, okay, what does that mean? But if you know, okay, dis means basically to take away from or to oppose, to disassociate would mean to break away that connection or to make no connection at all or eliminate the connection. Disassociate. So to be able to break down a word and understand, okay, well, I don't know what this word means, but I know what this part of the word means. I know that is something that negates or whatever. You can figure it out, and you don't have to rely on a dictionary. What do you do if there's not a dictionary around?
Right.
What do you do if you don't have a cell phone and pull up Google to find this?
Mm-hmm.
It's being able to use the tool God gave you, your brain.
Right. Absolutely.
Well, guys, it's getting late. Death Kitty, did you have anything else you wanted to
I
throw
do
in?
not. I do not.
Okay.
But hey, if any of y'all watch this and you go and watch the next episode, and that little phrase that I was talking about from earlier with the sense of light, the sense of dark, and it being in way two different time periods, right? It clicks with you, put it in the next chat.
Heck yeah. But thank y'all for joining in, man. Thank y'all in the chat. Chrissy, thank you so much once again for that website. Seriously, we're all about
Absolutely.
that kind of stuff. I am absolutely digging into that shit for sure, and I will definitely keep you posted. But yeah, Chrissy, if you like I said, if you want to jump in on chat, going over some of this stuff, we would love to have you on. Or not jump in the chat, but jump on the episode with us. We'll set something up. Definitely right up our alley with this kind of stuff here. But
Absolutely.
anyway, well, guys, we are getting our grill on tomorrow after we get some work done outside. It's gonna be a busy day. We are not doing a live tomorrow night, but we are doing reactions. We're behind on those, so we're gonna show a little love to some of the artists out there, man. Not sure exactly what we're doing, but we'll definitely post them throughout the week. Just kind of, we'll do them all tomorrow and just kind of drop them throughout the week for you guys. But so stay tuned on that. Good night, Chrissy. Thank you so much for joining in, everybody. Hope you all have a great weekend. Please be safe out there, guys. And hold on, I am typing in the chat. My bad. I cannot multitask tonight. Boom, there we go. That was way too long. Type too much. Anyway, be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other. Night,
Night,
guys.
night, y'all.